I guess I'm ready, but is my soul ready? Greetings, programs. Hanker and Fernell here. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Runehammer. Just a quick little video here as I am finally going to release one of my newer creations, Venture Forward, on the Runehammer shop. And I just wanted to tell you about it for a minute because it's kind of awesome. So since last fall, I've been playing with two different groups of kids between about 8 and 12 years old. And at first, believe me, I had many a trepidation. I know nothing about children. Let's get the disclaimer out there really quickly. How I'm supposed to play D&D with kids, I have no idea. So I kind of just trusted my instincts, tried to just treat them with respect. And as this was unfolding, now we've done over 30 sessions together. And over the years, I can't even tell you how many times people have asked me, like, well, what about playing with kids? What about playing D&D with kids? Obviously, a lot of cool parents out there have kids, and you want to play D&D with them, straight up, right? Captive audience and all that stuff, am I right? So anyway, I never had an answer to that in all these years that I've been lucky enough to get so many questions from people on the internet. But now I hope to have the beginning of an answer, and that is this book, Venture Forward. Now, obviously in here, you're going to find my sort of discovered wisdom about playing with kids and kind of telling the tale about, for me, what's wound up working and what hasn't worked. But to be totally honest, that is not really what's kind of unique and awesome about this book. It's more how we made it. So we printed this locally right here in Philly and basically printed the entire book on heavy cardstock. And then a bunch of the book, as you can see, is basically cards that you can cut out kind of like a craft project. So you just cut it along the spine, take out the page, and then cut out all these cards. And they're hero and equipment and monster and spell cards. Now, why bother with all that stuff? And kind of here's one of my own sets that I've made of all these kind of heroes and equipment and all this fun stuff in card form. Now, there's some good thinking in here. There's an adventure in here. There's a little bit about realizing that kids know about D&D, so you can't just like spring a sort of a system on them. You kind of need to play D&D, but then where do you begin and what could be the simplest way? And then how do you adapt to some kids knowing a lot about D&D and some not knowing anything, and so on and so forth. And so that's the sort of cerebral side of Venture Forward. Then as far as the craft side, you have this kind of card making side, and then you have an opening adventure, which is a classic kind of cave crawl. So why the sort of the cards? Well, I think the biggest thing that I realized playing with kids is, for one thing, they don't do a lot of like heavy, dark role play. And to me, I guess that was a little bit surprising because we all watch the same movies and stuff like that. And so we all have this kind of sense of like comic book monologues, stuff like that. But you just don't see kids doing it. They like to keep things light and they like to be funny. So that's rule one. And there's no way for me to really fully adapt to that in a publication. But rule two, I could adapt to. And I found that kids don't like writing things down. Maybe they spend too much time in school being forced to write things or doing math problems or whatever. But often I would even have something come up. Maybe they would find a new piece of equipment and we would make a note about it, right? This broadsword is so cool that you roll your attacks with advantage. That's insanely simple as a piece of equipment, right? But then I would look and the kid would just write like a bunch of loops on their piece of paper. So I found that some of the suchness that gives the game its kind of feeling of reality over time was eroding because not writing things down accurately. And so I started embracing this kind of card mentality. So if you were to find a fire blade, you give them the card for the fire blade. Now this is not a new concept by any means. But some games I do think get a little far afield with cards. And I wanted to kind of keep it somewhat tight so that you don't have so many cards that you wind back up at the same place you started, which is like there's too much stuff. So we would often follow this kind of unspoken rule. You can kind of have your hero card, which could be this catfolk cleric, and you can have two pieces of gear. And if you find additional gear, you find some cool armor or something, I'm going to need a really good story to describe how you're going to fit it. Like I have this bow and arrow that I've found. And so I can't have a fire blade, a water blade, and a bow and arrow. It's too many things clanking all over my character. So you know what? I never use this water blade anyways. So I'll go back now. I'll do a bow and arrow, fire blade, catfolk cleric build, just like this. So this kind of play and this way of tracking your character is not really a terribly new or unheard of idea, but I don't think, in my experience, it's been done in sort of a super simplistic way that stays really clean. So when you mix that with kind of the family craft project of the book, and then the thinking inside about how to determine like easy and hard rolls and focus on the D20 and other stuff like that, I'm really, really proud of it. Chip Morningstar on the cover is kind of my wife's creation, and so he's on our T-shirts and stuff like that. We're really proud of him. But venture forward, there's a digital version as well that's coming up. So if you prefer to like print multiple copies of these on cardstock at your house and cut out all your own cards, just get the digital version, and you can make as many cards as your table or your different groups of kids may need, or you can get the physical ones. We're shipping those out. They're kind of satisfying and made out of really heavy, kind of awesome material. So there's something cool about that as well. So I hope you guys enjoy Venture Forward as much as me and the Sparrows Guild have, and we'll see what awaits beyond this first release as far as this kind of stuff, based on how many of you are interested in what it is and where it's going. So that's it for now. I'll see you on that old internet. I'm out. A catfolk cleric. With a wizard's hat. Hey.